Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money, with your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 132 of Screw the Commute podcast. I'm here with Jacqueline Whitmore, and this is a lady who knows etiquette. And I've known her for lots of years, and I'll tell you the truth, when I'm in Florida, I always wanted to invite her to a business lunch. But I was afraid to because I'm such a country bumpkin. I was afraid I'd use the wrong fork and she'd beat my fingers or something. So I didn't do it. But anyway, she's a wonderful, down-to-earth person, and I'm going to introduce you in a minute. Let's see. Last episode is 131, Robin Pierce. This lady knows about time and how to manage it. I met her 19 years ago at Butt Camp and that I had in Washington, D.C. We've been friends ever since, and she gave great tips on time management for business people. Then I've got a great freebie for everybody listening to this podcast. It's my $27 ebook, How to Automate Your Business. And just one of the tips in this ebook has saved me over 7 million keystrokes. So it's really worth grabbing that at screwthecommute.com/automate free. Screwthecommute.com/automate free. And I've got another special little gift over at that link for you. Now, our podcast app's in the iTunes store. You can go to screwthecommute.com/app, and we got complete instructions on how to use it. Put it on your cell phone and tablet and take us with you on the road and save your favorite episodes. And it does all kinds of cool stuff, especially if you're driving. It'll pause itself automatically and come back on after you make a phone call. And also, please, if you know anybody that's interested in entrepreneurial stuff or wants to start a business or improve their business, tell them about the show, and it'll really help us out. Now, today's sponsor is the Distance Learning School, the Internet Marketing Training Center of Virginia. Now, did you ever wonder how tens of thousands of people like me sit home, earn legitimate money, and don't have to listen to a boss or get up and fight traffic every day? Well, it's because we have legitimate online businesses. And the reason I keep emphasizing the word legitimate is because there's tons of scams out there in the online world. And that's why I started the only licensed and dedicated internet marketing distance learning school in the country, imtcva.org. And you can have, and well, here I go again, legitimate lifestyle business in as little as 6 months. So check it out, and we'll have the link in the show notes. And by the way, we're approved by the Department of Defense for their scholarship program for military spouses. So if you know any military spouses who want to work out of their home from wherever they're deployed, please send them my way. All right, let's get to the main event. Jacqueline Whitmore is an international etiquette expert, a certified speaking professional, and the founder of the Protocol School of Palm Beach. She's also the author of Poised for Success, Mastering the 4 Qualities that Distinguished Outstanding Professionals, and Business Class Etiquette Essentials for Success at Work. Jacqueline's etiquette advice is sought by radio and television shows around the world, including 2020, CNN, Fox News, National Public Radio, and CNBC. She's been quoted in the New York Times, USA Today, Wall Street Journal, Business Insider, U.S. News and World Report, Entrepreneur Fortune, and guess what? The Big O, Oprah Magazine. Jackie, are you ready to screw?
I'm ready, Tom.
Are you ready? I've always wanted to say that to you. I held back. So, it's so great to catch up with you. How long ago did we meet? It's been a long time.
It's been a long time, Tom. I've been in business since 1998, and I guess I took your Butt Camp probably in the early 2000s, very shortly after I started my business. And I have to say, it made such a difference in the way I did business. It made such a difference in the way I manage my business, and I still use some of the tips and tools that you taught way back then. So
Well, yeah, I hope
appreciate it.
it seems I just sent you the latest update too, because you get them forever for free once you're a butt camp graduate. So lots of new stuff. Did you get the link that I sent you?
I sure did.
Okay, good.
I look forward to watching the videos.
A lot of new stuff. I'll tell you, that's the way it always is in this internet field. So tell us what you've been doing with this etiquette and protocol school all these years.
I started my business with the intent to help people become a little bit more polished in the business arena. And I started out teaching children, teenagers, and then adults, but I quickly realized that adults were more of my forte. So I go all over the world teaching men and women everything from dining skills, techno etiquette, how to dress, how to engage with other people, networking, anything that has to do with communication skills and customer service. I pretty much cover that.
So when you say you go all over the world, do you do speeches or consulting or small groups, big groups? How's that work?
I do a little bit of everything. In fact, my second book, actually my first and second book, were printed in Chinese, and I go to Asia quite frequently and give speeches on business etiquette, Western business etiquette, to people who would like to know how to do business over here in the United States. And I've been just all over the planet, but my main focus is right here in the United States. I teach banks, law offices, accounting firms, colleges and universities, you name it, anybody with a green dollar bill.
Well, but do you do the opposite? Like you go to China and tell them how to do business here, but what if we were going to China?
I haven't had a request for that yet. However, I'm very, very interested in teaching Americans how to do business in China because I think it's extremely important.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a big economy over there, and I just recently found out that their biggest search engine is called Baidu. It's one of the biggest in the world, and there's 1 million searches a day in English on that search engine. So a lot of U.S. companies are. You have to jump through a bunch of hoops to get listed in Baidu and get a local Chinese person to help you. But yeah, the back and forth is going to just keep increasing.
Absolutely. The world is getting smaller and smaller, and we have to learn how to do business globally. And that's what I try to impart to my participants here, is that even if you work solely in the United States, chances are your workplace is going to be extremely diverse. So it's important to know how to do business with all types of cultures.
Now, what are some of the biggest mistakes that the typical person makes?
Oh, it just depends. Etiquette, by the way, is situational. So what might work for me in a situation might not work for you. And I see everything from people who don't know how to compose an email, or they might post something on social media that they wish they hadn't posted. They might make a big mistake at a dinner table. They might order the wrong food, or they might say something to someone that might be offensive. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. I
heard somebody recently tell us it was a TV personality that got invited to this really swanky event, and she took a sip out of this little cup of clear liquid, and the guy next to her said, that's supposed to be, you put your fingers in there instead of drink it.
That was the finger bowl.
I would have done the same thing if I'd have chugged it, probably. So what made you get interested in this?
My background is in hospitality, and I worked for the Breakers in Palm Beach, which is a very luxurious hotel in Palm Beach, Florida. I was in public relations and marketing at the time. And to make a long story extremely short, I put together an etiquette camp for kids. And children from all over the world came 1 week during the summer, and they learned how to ballroom dance. They learned how to sit at the table and eat properly. They learned how to public speak. And then in the afternoons, they had all kinds of activities, including golf and tennis and swimming and field trips and so forth.
Just in 1 week, you got kids to do all this stuff?
in 1 week.
Wow.
Absolutely. And
Wow.
so the instructor whom I hired said to me, why don't we expand this camp and open it up to adults? And we were starting to get inquiries from business people to come to a camp like this. And that's exactly what we did. We organized a camp at the same time of that same week. So the adults were in one class and the children were in another class. And being the curious person that I am, I actually took the class because I am from a small town. I guess I'm a country bumpkin at heart as well. And I wanted to learn how to deal with people, get along with people from all parts of the globe. And I took the class and the instructor said, you could turn this into a business if you wanted to, and you can teach the staff here at the hotel some etiquette skills. And she was exactly right. I ended up going to Washington, D.C., and I took a more extensive course. And in my spare time, I started teaching the staff at the hotel as a side job, in addition to my public relations. And as fate would have it, I got laid off from my job in 1998. And I decided that was the time to start my own business. So I converted my little 350 square foot attic into an office, bought a printer, a fax machine, and a computer. And that's where I founded the Protocol School of Palm Beach.
Wow, wow, wow. So take us back even before that. So obviously you had a job there, but before that, how did you come up through the ranks?
Oh my gosh, I've had such a colorful career,
Yeah,
Tom.
let's hear it.
I've done everything from I've danced in a baby Shamu suit at SeaWorld. I've been in improvisational theater at
Wow.
SeaWorld. I have been a flight attendant with Northwest Airlines. I've flown all over the world with them. I worked for the Walt Disney World Dolphin in special events. I was a sales secretary. I have done so many interesting and diverse jobs, which in all actuality, it led to what I'm actually doing now because it has helped me understand other people's jobs because my background is so diverse. But the pinnacle of my success prior to starting my own business was at the Breakers when I was hired as the assistant director of PR. I got to meet people from all over the world, people who worked in magazines and newspapers and journalists from, like you mentioned some of the magazines that I've written for and I've been featured in. I
Right.
met all the editors and writers for those publications. And I felt intimidated to work in that environment. When I started, I thought to myself, how in the world am I going to do this job? Because I'm just a small town girl. And I really, I just liked to learn. And that's one of my wit bits. I call it my Whitmore's wit bits. Is always surround yourself with talented, positive people. Never stop learning because learners are earners, and always keep an open mind. Minds are like parachutes. They only function when they're open. And I've always lived by that philosophy, and that's always served me well. I've been laid off 4 times in my life, and all 4 times it has propelled me to the next level. And so I'm really grateful that I have my own business, and there are some challenges that go along with that as well.
Well, you're kidding. I thought everything's perfect all the time in business, right?
Well, it's only taken me 20 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Okay, so let's just take a situation, Jackie. Let's say I'm getting invited to a really to a White House dinner. What kind of things should I really, really watch out for to make sure I don't make a fool of myself?
Well, if you've been invited to the White House, consider yourself extremely lucky, or maybe consider yourself extremely unlucky, depending on your political affiliation. I would have to put myself in that situation. If it were me, I would first of all find out what to wear, because that's important.
Okay.
You don't want to come to any event underdressed
Right.
or overdressed. Chances are that you'll probably need to dress up. Number two, I'd want to find out who's going to be there. A lot of times you can ask for a guest list to find out who you're going to be sitting beside.
Oh,
And then
okay.
if you know who's going to be at your table, you might even want to do a little Google search and find out a little bit about these people.
I
so
never
that you
even
have
thought of any of that stuff. Yeah, great
Yes, so you have some conversation
idea.
starters. You can go on LinkedIn, you can go on Facebook, you can pretty much find anybody you want online. And then I would also take an etiquette course in dining if it's a very formal meal. And
Now, do you have this stuff available online at all, or is it all in person?
I have webinars online.
Okay.
I have classes that I do. I do consulting in person and online. And I have videos. I have a YouTube channel. I have 2 books that people can refer to. That's
And
probably
this
the easiest
this
way.
would cover all that stuff that I would need to know.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. All right. So what else would you do?
Oh, well, I would, those are the main
See,
things.
you know all the basics already about the forks and knives and all the place settings and stuff. So that's the stuff you're saying to try to learn from the course, right?
I would, but if you don't have time to learn the forks and the knives and Silverware 101, I would just watch the host and follow his or her lead and just be very observant. I would also make sure that you don't stand in the corner and wait for people to approach you. You're invited to an event for several reasons. Number one, the host or hostess thinks you have something to contribute. Number two, the host or hostess wants to thank you for your friendship. And number three, the host or hostess wants to introduce you to someone they know. So you could be invited for one or all of those reasons. So that's even more reason for you to be prepared. I have something called the 5 Ps, which are prior planning prevents poor performance. And if you do your homework ahead of time, the more prepared you're going to be, the more comfortable you're going to be. And not everybody is real confident in social situations.
That's for sure. And some when you were saying doing the research, you might find out some things not to say and not to bring up, right? If there were some skeletons that people that would embarrass somebody.
Right. So I would suggest that you read up on the people that you're going to be with, maybe pull some general facts out of their biography. You can even call companies to find out where the bios are on the CEOs. I mean, we can pretty much find anything we want nowadays. That's the basic information. And then after the event, you want to follow up and write a thank you note. That's the key that most people forget, that they like going to these events, but they oftentimes forget to follow up or send a gift or make a phone call. And those are the little things that will ensure that you're invited back to any kind of event.
Now,
one other thing real quick. You want to choose your guest carefully because these events will sometimes allow you to bring a guest.
Oh, right.
And if you invite someone who is a barbarian, then that person's poor manners are going to reflect on you.
Right.
So it's important for you to choose that person who's going to represent you extremely well.
Good. Excellent point there. So anything crazy, funny, speaking of barbarians, anything funny, crazy happen at any of these events?
Actually, something just happened last Saturday. I teach a diverse group of people. And last week, I taught a group of air conditioning mechanics.
Really?
And yes, usually
you just wouldn't think all of a sudden, oh, well, you know, us HVAC people need to have some etiquette training.
You wouldn't think so, but we didn't call it etiquette. You have to be very careful with that word because it can turn some people off.
Okay.
So I don't always use the word etiquette. So this was a customer service program involving etiquette, meeting and greeting customers and reading body language and how to speak to customers, how to follow up, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I always start out with an exercise called Getting to Know You. And this particular exercise, I started out by saying to the group, it was a group of 25 men. Mm-hmm. I was the only female. And I said, what does a perfect day look like for you?
Oh my.
And here we go. This was our first exercise. So each and every person, almost each and every person said the same thing. I enjoy sitting at home on the couch, drinking beer.
Okay.
Okay. That went on and on and on. Okay. Then we get to this one guy, and I mean, this was a pretty rough group. These people were, no holds barred.
Right.
This one guy said, I enjoy fornication. And then I enjoy sitting on the couch and drinking beer. And I had never heard that before. No. And I guarantee you, no one, to my knowledge, has ever told an etiquette teacher they enjoy that. Not in those terms anyway.
Well, here's the thing. He was being prim and proper using the term fornication. He could have used a lot of other terms.
He could have, and it's funny because their boss came in before I started and said, I don't want any curse words in today's class. I want you to behave yourself, be on your best behavior. And this guy must have felt like he was on his best behavior.
Yeah, exactly. That is great. Oh man. So what did you do? Or what did you say?
Well, when being a professional speaker, when people say things, you can't let it rattle you, because once it rattles you, then they've got you.
Right.
They're going to take control. And that's the main thing I learned a long time ago when I was teaching a group of wealth managers in New York City. The CEO pulled me in his office and he looked at me, and I was really just brand new to the industry. And he said, don't let these people push you around, because if you do, they'll eat you alive. And I've always remembered that. And when you're an etiquette consultant, they're going to expect you to be a certain way and dress and act a certain way. I like to have fun. I'm a little different in that I joke around with them. I am not afraid to have fun. And by the end of the 6 hours that I spent with these HVAC people, it's a long day, they really enjoyed it. And we had a lot of fun because I like to put the spotlight on them and not necessarily the entire time talk about me, because that's boring. It's not about me. When you're in the speaking industry, it's not about you. It's about them, and it's about the things that they need to learn.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm still cracking up about that guy, because, I mean, I know you for a long time, but if I didn't really know you and I just saw you, you're just so put together. You're like Miss Perfection. And like, I was the last person on earth I'd ever say anything off color. But now I know I can get away with it.
I think I said to him, I appreciate your honesty. And I just smiled. I just gave him a real sweet smile and then moved on.
You say you're a country bumpkin. Where did you come from?
I grew up in the small town of Haines City, Florida, which if you look on the map of Florida, it's directly in the heart of the state. And it's about 35 minutes, 40 minutes west of Orlando. It's in Polk County, Florida. I grew up being raised by a single mother and a Southern grandmother, and there were orange groves in the back of my house. We grew up playing in orange groves, which when people think of an etiquette consultant, they think that I went to private schools and I had tea parties and cotillions. I never had any of that.
Wow.
In fact, I don't even remember taking my first tea party and attending my first tea party until I was well in my 20s, maybe 29 years old.
Oh, my goodness.
And I was a late bloomer. But I think that also makes me relatable to a lot of people, because if you're in the etiquette business, people expect you to be stuffy, but when you come in and you're approachable and you're just like they are, then your audience lets their guard down and they let you into their world.
Well, I can tell you that I know some other people in this business, and they would have fallen apart as soon as that guy opened his mouth. There would have been, you talk about a long 6 hours. It would have been, they might have left. They might have just, I don't know. Anyway, what do you like best about working for yourself, and what's the worst part?
I love working for myself because of the flexibility it offers me. I think you've probably heard this many, many times because you interview so many entrepreneurs. The flexibility is certainly attractive. Setting my own schedule, not having to put up with a lot of people. In other words,
Right.
deal with a lot of personalities in the workplace. I work with my 2 dogs, and the only time that I really go out and be among people is when I go to conferences and when I teach. So I have to find ways to stimulate my brain and to motivate myself. That's the hardest part.
Mm-hmm.
It is motivating myself because I work alone, and I love that, and I had to get used to that, but I also like being around people too.
Yeah, well, I really like, I mean, you've seen me at events. I'm Mr. Yay, but I'm happy to come home and be by myself. Because again, Jackie, there's 30 dogs at my house right this moment. 30.
Well, I think years ago when we spoke, you had 1 dog, maybe 2. Didn't you have a poodle?
Well, they multiply. No, I had a Bichon Frise, and
Okay,
I had a
little
website.
white dog.
Yeah, but I had a website that says I am not a poodle. That was the thing, because everybody would call the Bichon Frises poodles, and they're not a poodle; they're a Bichon. And of course, the dogs are getting a complex over it and everything.
So you've gotten into the dog breeding business?
Well, no, not so much. We have a protection dog company on the side, so I have German Shepherds here, but my professional trainers are staying with me until their new house gets ready, and they raise, besides training police dogs and protection dogs, they raise Pomeranians and Chihuahuas. So they're just surrounded. I mean, it's like they let the little ones out, and it's like a sea of, like it's lava flow at 100 miles an hour just flying by you. It's crazy.
Wow.
But it's so much fun, though, I'll tell you. All right, so how do people get a hold of give me your website and how they can find all your stuff?
My website is super easy. It's etiquetteexpert.com.
Except etiquette is hard to spell for us country bumpkins. So
it is.
Yeah, but we'll have it in the show notes, but spell it anyway.
It's ETIQUETTE
okay.
EXPERT.com.
All right, etiquetteexpert.com.
And I have a newsletter, which, by the way, that's one of the things that I learned from you years ago is a newsletter is an effective marketing tool. And I have had this newsletter for years.
A long time, yeah.
A long time. And I try to send it out once a month because out of sight is out of mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it is besides my website, my newsletter is my number 1 marketing tool. So I have that, and that's free. And of course, I'm on all the social media sites, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest.
Yeah, and those all would be from the, they could find them from etiquetteexpert.com, right?
That's right.
Beautiful. So anything in particular you're promoting nowadays?
Oh, well, I am working on a 3rd book, so I can't really promote that at the moment. But my 2nd book was the number 1 etiquette book in China for 2 years. And the Chinese publisher is waiting patiently for a 3rd book. So I'm working on that. And of course, I'm speaking regularly, and I have webinars all the time. In fact, I think that we've both seen a lot of change in the speaking industry. Mm-hmm. And if you're not doing webinars and teleseminars, you're really missing the boat. So those are very, very important.
So they could reach all of those and see the schedule for those at your site or or you just
They'll just have to join my newsletter.
okay, and then you
to
announce
get
it to them.
those. Yes, and also I announce it on Facebook as well.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, we got to take a brief sponsor message, and when we come back, we're going to ask the etiquette expert, what's a typical day look like for her? Maybe we'll ask her for 2 days, when she's traveling and when she's at home. So, folks, our sponsor this week is me again. It's the Internet Marketing Retreat and Joint Venture Program, where myself and my staff work with you for a year to either get you started in an internet business or use the internet to take your existing business to the next level. And you can check those details out at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. We'll have that in the show notes also, greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. But I do want to tell you, I kind of turned the internet marketing training world on its head around the year 2000. People were, like me, at my level, were charging $50,000 or $100,000 up front to teach what we knew. But I'm a small business advocate, and I knew many small businesses couldn't really afford that kind of upfront money. So I made all those gurus mad by charging a relatively small entry fee to my program, and I also got a percentage of profits that was capped, so you wouldn't be stuck with me forever. So for me to get my big money, you had to make way bigger money. And plus, I'm not going to disappear on you because I want to get my money. So that kind of turned the world on its head, and 1,700 students later, we're still going strong 20 years later. So, and also you get an immersion weekend in the Great Internet Marketing Retreat Center, where I'm broadcasting from right now, and also a scholarship that you can either use yourself or gift to someone to the only internet marketing school in the country, the Internet Marketing Training Center of Virginia. So if that interests you, hey, I hear some doggies in the background there. We love doggies around here. I think the doggie said, hey, I want to go. I want to go to that school. But I think we have a TOEFL score. You have to be able to speak so much English. So we'll have to test your dogs to see if they qualify. But we're glad to have them. So anyway, that's the story. Check it out in the show notes, imtcva.org. All right, let's get back to the etiquette expert, my friend, Jackie. So, Jackie, what's a typical day look like for you, one when you're traveling and one when you're at home?
When I'm home, it's pretty simple. I usually start the day with a workout. I like going to the gym, and then I run my errands after that, and usually I don't even get into the office until about noon.
Oh, and wow, so that's nice.
I know. Well, I'm not a morning person.
Okay.
Although I wish I were, but I usually start my day around noon, and I apologize about the dog. But
you sleep until the crack of noon.
No, I'm up early. But I usually go to the gym first, and then I run my errands, and then I start my work day, and I usually finish it about this time, and then my dogs let me know, like they are right now, it's dinner time, and then we have dinner. I cook almost every night, and sometimes I'll come back into the office in the evening and do my paperwork, because that's something that's important. We all have to take care of. So my day could be working on PowerPoint presentations. It could be writing newsletters. It could be writing articles. It could be answering emails. It could be developing new products, or even writing articles for magazines, or writing a book. Mm. So I stay pretty busy. There's never a dull moment here at the house. I do work from home, which is nice. And when I'm traveling, that could be anything. I usually fly in the day before a speaking engagement, and I prepare. And oftentimes I'll go to the gym or relax because I'm away from my family distractions. And then the next day I'll teach a class, get on a plane, come back, and start all over again the next day.
So you don't stay extra days just to vacation and party when you go somewhere?
It depends. It depends on the location. For example, I was recently out near Lake Tahoe, and I had never been to Lake Tahoe before. So I stayed a couple of days to go see that. But Normally, I don't like to be away from home more than 3 days because I have to get a pet sitter for my
Oh, right,
dogs, and it
right.
can be expensive. And I just that's pretty simple. I lead a very simple life. It's not complicated at all.
See, we picture you etiquette people as like, going to a ball every weekend in a cocktail dress, and I guess you broke the mold, didn't you?
I've done all of that. When I worked at the Breakers, I went
Mm-hmm.
to a lot of galas. I went to a lot of balls. I love that, but I live in a small town now. I live in Mount Dora, which is about an hour north of Orlando. So this town is like Mayberry. Do you
Oh, wow.
remember that
Yeah,
show,
sure.
Mayberry?
Mayberry RFD, yeah.
Yes, and I live in a small town in a small cottage, and my days, if I'm not working, are spent gardening, or I'm renovating a she shed at the moment, so I'm
A she shed. What
a
is that?
she shed. A she shed is a place of my own. It's actually an old
Like a
garage.
man cave, but the female version, or what?
It is. It's a man cave or a party barn, whatever you want to call it. But it was an old garage that was built on my property 40 years ago,
Wow.
and it's a metal garage with a metal roof. And I recently added drywall, insulation,
When
air
you say you
conditioning.
added, are we talking you picked up a hammer, or we're
No,
talking you had it done?
no, I had it done.
Okay, all
I
right.
had it done, but I had to pick out all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I designed it, and new doors and windows, and now it can be an office, it can be a yoga studio, it can be a TV room, just about anything I want it to be.
It's a she shed, yeah. I never heard of that.
That's a she shed.
Yeah.
He shed, she shed, we shed. But I do get out and do my own gardening. And that's something I never knew how to do until I bought my own house 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And that brings me a lot of satisfaction.
Yeah, I'm not too good at that. I kill everything. You gotta water stuff. I forgot about that. I had something sitting in the corner of my living room for about a year and a half, and never watered it. That didn't do so well. I
Well,
didn't.
I had no idea that I had such Martha Stewart skills
Yeah.
until I moved into this cottage. I live in a 1925 cottage.
Wow.
And it's only 1,000 square feet, 2 bedroom, 2 baths, but the garden is beautiful, and I have a lot of living space on the outside. So it's a lot of work to maintain it.
Wow, that's like one of those tiny houses things. That's pretty
It's
cool.
well, before I lived in this place, I lived in a boathouse for a year.
See, you're not like I said, you broke the mold, kiddo. You're not the typical etiquette consultant.
No, I lived in a 800 square foot boathouse, and I don't mean a boat on the water. It's a house
Right.
on pylons on the water, and
Mm-hmm.
I used to watch alligators swim by daily,
Oh, man.
and that was an
I'll
experience.
bet. Yeah.
But it was a great experience. What a peaceful place to relax and start my business over again. Because
Except
when
when
you
the
move,
hurricanes come, though, right?
oh well, you definitely have
Get
to
out of there.
evacuate.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I'll tell you. What's
And
that?
anytime you move to a different city, it's almost like starting over again. Even though you have had a thriving business, you're in a new location and you have to change everything over business
Mm-hmm.
wise. So that's a lot of work. And I'm still not known in this community. So I'm going to events and chamber meetings, and it's like I'm starting over again.
Well, yeah, but you've got business around the world going too. It's not
I
like
do.
it's the
In
only
fact,
thing you got going.
right. If I'm at home, I'm not making, I shouldn't say I'm not making money, because I've learned how to make money through butt camp,
Right,
thanks to you. And I need to watch your videos so I can learn to make more money.
Well, yeah, lots of new stuff since you've been around.
Because ideally, who wants to get on a plane and go through all that?
I haven't been on a plane for 2 years, and I am thrilled about it. I'm so happy to just sit home and do my thing and play with my dogs and sell stuff. And yeah, it's,
Well, see, I want to grow up to be just like you.
well, I don't know if that's a really great goal in life, but certain parts of it maybe.
No,
So
I have to say, I learn a lot from your videos and your butt camp, and that's why I always recommend you to the people I consult with, because they'll always want to know, well, how can you make money in this business, in the etiquette business? And my answer is always, well, how much do you want to work? If all you're going to do is teach etiquette seminars, then you're probably not going to make a whole lot of money, because you need multiple streams of income.
Yes.
And I say that to any entrepreneur. If all you're doing is seminars all day long, you're going to burn out, and you're going to get bored, and you're going to need another stream of income. So that's why I think it's so important to do other things, especially electronically.
well, yeah, and I call it an insurance policy because like I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but I was in a hunting accident a year ago, and I mean it would have been a great story had I gotten shot, but no, I just fell on a log and tore my intestines up in intensive care, and my business is still running, bringing money in. So if you're just depending on you being there live to bring money in, that's a risky thing. Definitely risky. So you want to get all this stuff going.
Oh, it is. It absolutely is. And that's, like you said, I mean, it's an insurance policy, and the older we get, you need more stability. And so,
Well, yeah, but you never get old, so that doesn't count for you. That only counts for me.
the good news is in the etiquette business, you can be 75 years old, and as long as you can get on an airplane and teach, people really respect image and etiquette consultants.
Yeah, that's true.
Have it all together. And the one thing that I
Your
can
problem
say,
is you look like you're 12. That's your problem. Nobody.
oh no, I might look like I'm 18, but not 12.
Well, that's pretty darn good.
No, I think happiness is the key, and I think that keeping the stress level low for anybody, any entrepreneur, is so important, because when you have a lot of stress in your life, that's going to age you, and it's also going to make you unproductive. So it's really important to take care of yourself, and sounds like that's what you're striving to do.
That's for sure. So, it's been so good catching up with you, Jackie, and learning all this new stuff I never knew about you. It's very, very cool. So, everybody check the show notes and get on her newsletter. And I mean, if HVAC guys can do it, you can do it. All right, but don't be sending her any rotten notes, like that one guy. But thanks so much, Jackie, for catching up. And now I'm not afraid to take you to a business lunch if I come to Florida, because I was afraid you'd smack my fingers if I picked up the wrong fork.
Oh, I would never do that, Tom.
No, you kicked me under the table.
No, my mentor always said, never give advice unless you're paid. So
there we go. All right. Well, good catching up with you. And everybody check out the show notes and get on her list and check her stuff out. It's going to make you a better business person. All right. We'll catch you all in the next episode.